Joining me now, first class father, Ian Ziering. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thanks for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing well. It's really an honor to have you on the podcast. Let's start like this. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
I've got two kids, 10 and 12, two beautiful little girls, and I couldn't be happier. Dad's the best role I ever had.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Back to school now. Are they involved in any sports activities for the year?
My youngest, Penna, she's in the school play, and she's very excited about that. They're doing the musical Newsies Junior, and she's playing Miss Catherine, which is a lead. So she's super excited, and I'm working on music with her, and we're watching the movies and reading lines, and it's the best. My oldest, she is very involved with her friends at school. There's not much going on after school. She comes home and does her work, and getting her off the iPhone is very challenging. She takes tennis lessons once a week, so she's got that going on at least.
Yeah, we got a battle of the iPads over here as well. There's no question you're not alone there. So take me back if you could, Ian, 12, 13 years ago. How old were you when you became a dad and had that experience change your perspective on life?
I became a dad when I was 47, late in life. Yeah, which was a bummer to me because I wanted to have three kids by the time I was 30. I grew up in a family. I was the third of three boys, 10 years behind my brothers. My dad likes to say I was the best mistake he ever made, although I know they wanted a child. They always wanted a third kid. It just didn't happen right after my second brother, Barry, but it did happen, and here I am. And having an older dad growing up was an interesting experience for me because all of my friends, their dads were the coaches of the baseball teams, were always very proactive. My dad worked three jobs. He was a very hardworking man. My mom, typical housewife of the times. And my dad would come home and he'd play some ball. I'd get two or three pitches out of him before he would say, "Hey, Ishmai," he called me Ishmai. "Ishmai, my shoulder hurts. Play with your brothers." So I kind of knew that he was older, and it was further exemplified by my friends' fathers being so much younger. And I knew at an early stage that I wanted to be a young dad because I wanted those years with my future children to be when I was virile, when I was strong enough to really engage in roughhouse and tumble. I thought I was only having boys. I got two girls. So it just didn't happen for me until later in life. So when I had the kids, it was a huge shift. My life had been pretty fun up until then. Not that it wasn't fun anymore, but there was a distinct shift from fun, away from fun. But what, in the distance I moved away from fun, what was taken was replaced with joy. And there's nothing that can compare you for the joy that you'll experience in your having your own children. And it was a welcomed give. I always wanted kids. I finally had them. And while I might not have been doing the things that I had done as a single man or a childless couple, I it was all replaced with so much joy and holding my kids and making up lullabies with them and teaching them concepts and being with my daughter. I remember walking on my street. I've got my kid, and all of a sudden a crow is crowing, and my little daughter is like looking up. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is the first time you've ever heard a crow. This is amazing." So I started making notes. I've got anniversaries of the first time my daughter had an M&M, or the first time my other daughter said, "Pick me up, Daddy," because she used to say, "Pick up me, Dad, pick up me." And, just creating concepts were just things you don't expect. When kids are born, they come pre-wired to know mine, 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 mine. And I get it. They'd have their toys, but it was a teaching opportunity for me to help them, and especially with my older one, who would always say mine when it came time to sharing with her younger sister, where I got to teach them the concept of yours, mine, and ours. And I did that one day because she didn't grasp that this is ours. But I put a toothbrush in her hand. I put a toothbrush in my hand. And I gave the baby a toothbrush. I said, this is mine. Held up her hand. This is yours. And that's Penna's. Mine, yours, Penna's. So she understood mine, yours. But the concept of ours didn't come into play in her mind till I broke out the toothpaste, because I put the toothpaste on mine, put the toothpaste on hers and Penna's. And then I said, this is ours. So being able to teach these rudimentary concepts that we take for granted, that you don't come pre-wired for, was like, way to go, Dad, way to go. It's like, it felt great, and I always look for opportunities where I could give them little life lessons and, help them be successful, independent kids.
I love that analogy, Ian, because I have 4 kids, 3 boys. We got our girl on the 4th try, and I have 2 teenagers in the house, 17 and 16, and they'll eat us out of house and home. So I do the food shopping and come home like on Sunday. That's supposed to be the food for the week. They're digging in there. I'm like, guys, you got to pace yourself here, and the little ones are trying to get something. So everyone's trying to out eat everybody. I'm like, we got to share these things. So my older boys, I'm like, you guys got to start pitching in here and buying your groceries, because if you're going to be eating all these snacks, we'll give you a little shelf over here, for you to do that. But yeah, it gets a little bit more challenging. And one of the things that I do struggle with is with my daughter is with the discipline. With my boys, I got it down pretty good, but my daughter's 9. My wife helps out a little bit more at that than I do. You got the 2 girls. What is it like now as they're getting a little older here? What type of disciplinarian are you as a dad? And is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
A little bit different. We're dealing with technology now that I never had to as a child. My parents, I would catch a fresh one. If I screwed up, or if I was a smart aleck or did something wrong, I'd get spanked. And I'm not opposed to spanking. It's not abuse, it's discipline. And with my oldest, there was one occasion where the girls were in the back seat and they were arguing with each other. This one's copying the other. Stop it. They'd start to poke. And I'm like, hey, girls, you need to settle down. It's distracting. I'm concentrating here. I'm driving. I can't have you screaming back there. Please be quiet. And when they were real young, I would take away their talking privilege. They've lost talking privilege. And that would work for a little bit. No talking. You've lost the privilege. And they would be like, so when they blew through that concept, I said, look, you need to stop. You're making this dangerous for Daddy, and I can't have you. I don't want to tell you 10 times to be quiet. And of course, my oldest one is still needling the younger one. And I see in my rearview mirror that she put hands on the younger one. I said, Mia, I just saw you do that. If you do it again, know that you're going to get hit, that it's coming. All right. So I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm giving you the bus schedule. Okay. If you put hands on her, you're telling me you understand, you're accepting the fact that you're going to be punished, because I'm going to turn around and smack you. And she like fluffed it off. And then I'm looking in my rearview mirror and I see her poke her sister. And with all the grace of a Zen archer and the speed of a master ninja, I turn around and I smack the top of her hand. It was lightning fast. I couldn't believe I moved so fast. I couldn't believe I was so accurate with the slap on top of the hand. And she buckled and started to cry, and they didn't speak the rest of the night. I don't hit the kids. I don't look to hit the kids. But if they do something, this is how I was raised. And it worked. It worked. I never wanted to get spanked. My father would bring it. I'd get always on the tush. I'd get smacked. But, I haven't had to do that. It's happened a couple times, but only because they deserved it. They earned that. But now that they're older, I'm not interested in hitting the kids. I've got something even more powerful than that, and that's leverage. In our house, it's all about merit. If they want something, they have to earn it. If they are looking to do something, they have to show a pattern of behavior that's commensurate with being rewarded. And that's how I dole it out. And if, they do something wrong, then they lose privilege. Their only job is to be a good student. And I give them everything they need to do that. I'll give them tutors. They'll get whatever they need to be. All you have to be is a good student. What I ask on top of that is that they're sisterly, that they're respectful of each other, that they're not fresh and don't talk back to their mom or myself. And that's not much to ask for an iPhone 12, an iPad, taking you to the store, buying you nice clothes. All I have to do is feed you and clothe you. I don't have to buy you nice clothes. I could buy you potato stacks. I could feed you pizza every night. I just have to give you food. No one's going to throw me in jail as long as I'm feeding you and clothing you and putting a roof over your head. Okay? Anything other than what I've asked of you, if you can't do that, then I'm going to start rolling back the privileges. It's very hard not to spoil our children. You want to give them everything. And the tough love, when I was a kid, tough love was me getting smacked. That's tough love, Ian. But now as an adult with a different perspective, I realized that it's tougher for the parent. I never want to smack the hand. I never want to take away privilege. I want to give her everything. So the tough is on us to have to do something that we don't really want to do. It's really now all about taking away their cell phone or screen time or whatever it is that's not allowing a particular behavior to be done in a way that's commensurate with them being raised as young ladies.
I'm right there with you. My father had me when he was 50 years old. I'm the youngest of 7, blended marriage, blended family. My father was a used car salesman in the Bronx, born in 1930. There was no fooling around. I was one of those just wait till your father comes home type of deals. And so my father was all serious business. And I often wonder now, as a dad with my 4 kids, like he didn't seem to feel guilty when he was putting a smack on us. Like he didn't seem like it bothered him. It bothers me. Like when I was spanking my older ones when they were little, I'm like, I don't know how he did this and didn't really feel any, so, and I agree with you, like up to a certain point, it's not necessary anymore. Now, you have other tools that you're able to use, but when you can't have that conversation, they don't seem to understand, it works and it does get results. And I know that. Go ahead.
I had friends that would get hit with a wooden spoon. I had friends that growing up, their father would take a belt across their butt. Oh my God. Friends that, would have their mouth washed out with soap. Like, what? It seems like, but that's the way our parents grew up. That's the way, you go back to medieval times, it was probably even more drastic. I'm going to have to cut your finger off. It's now to the point where I can use my words and I could use the leverage. But yeah, when we were kids, you're the youngest of 5. Your father was, a car salesman, 7 kids, patience runs out. And if you're last on the totem pole screwing around and then there's a dad who's got very little patience, it's coming.
Yeah. Justice came swiftly. Yeah, no doubt. And I know now, too, one of the difficult situations that you're in, so are millions of other American dads in this country. You're in a co-parenting situation right now, which can make it very difficult. So what has been your co-parenting situation? What's been the struggle with that? What's been working?
Well, divorce is something that no one wants who's married. It's an unfortunate situation. But for me, it was necessary for both my ex and I. It wasn't working out. Where we do agree is that our kids come first. So we put our differences aside and do what it takes to make sure the kids get everything they need to be successful individuals, to grow up into adults that are capable on as many fronts as they can. we co-parent very well. We have my ex and I have an active text thread. We are not fighting. We do what's best for the kids. I realize that this is a unique situation because, when people divorce, there is, it can be very contemptuous, but my ex and I seem to do it pretty well. If I need her to watch the kids on a weekend, that's mine, no problem. If she needs me to watch it, if she's away, I'll watch the kids. It's no problem. We do a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, well said, Ian. And unfortunately, I'm running up against my clock here, so I got to move this along here. And I love to ask all the dads that get on this podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Wow. I think just understanding that there is no instruction manual. Kids don't come home from the hospital with a how-to book. Just follow your intuition. Don't hesitate to ask friends that have kids how they've dealt with similar situations, and do the best you can. I mean, no one can fault you if you're doing the best you can. Everyone's got different means. Everyone has a different upbringing. You just be you. Raise the best kids that you can. Ask for help when you need it.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. Ian Ziering, you're a first-class father all the way. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
You got it, pal. Take care.